All right, what's up, guys? We are back with another podcast episode, and this week it's going to be foam paddle galore. There, all of a sudden, it felt like we went from 2 to 3 foam paddles to all of a sudden there are so many coming, and there's some that I know about that aren't even announced yet that are coming, so it's going to be, we got a lot of foam paddles to go through. We got quite a few more this week and got some playtime on them, and it was pretty crazy.
Dude, I should go back like 2, maybe 3 months at the top. I don't even think it was that long ago. And clip in the podcast where we were talking about foam core paddles. I think it was like the blue core and the true foam. And I was like, hey, do you think like this is going to, trickle down into cheaper paddles or blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh yeah, for sure. It's just what always happens, which I kind of already knew the answer to that. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to be this quick.
Yeah,
like it's just
everywhere.
Everywhere now. It's crazy. So...
Yeah, so we got a lot of foam cores to talk about. We have an update on the Holbrook Amra we want to talk about. And then in the kitchen this week, we are going to talk about tournament experience I had, an interesting way you can use something like a Dink Master to drill that's a little bit more interesting than just hitting against a wall. And then one of the big paddles, 2 big paddles we're going to be talking about this week are the new Vatic Pro V cores, which is a full foam core for $99, and then a new gearbox that is really good. So let's get into it. First update I want to talk about. So my court, it's obviously been done, been using it a little bit. And we had some people over the other day just playing. I was mostly watching. It was Sarah and some friends playing. And my neighbor was in his backyard. And he just waved over and said hi. And I think he even texted me and was like, dude, court's awesome. He texts me all the time. And he's like, dude, love the court.
Yeah, that guy's always coming over, like, or talking over the fence, or whenever I'm out there, like, shooting B-rolls. That dude is always outside.
Yeah, he's always outside. And so since we used it a lot, recently for filming, hitting, whatever, I was like, okay, maybe he has a different opinion on the sound now. Because, there was one day we were hitting and I was like, it's like a little early. It wasn't earlier. It was like 11 o'clock, but early afternoon, maybe it's a little annoying.
Man, you can't even call that early.
Yeah, I know, it's true. It's true. But anyways, so I went over and I was just like, hey, now that we've used it for a while, I was like, is the sound a problem? Can you hear it in your house? I was like, just let me know. I was like, if we got to tone it down, that's fine. Just tell me. And he was like, dude, it's like, first of all, I can't even hear it in my house, which I can't hear it in our house. I did a whole test the other day while they were playing. I went around the entire block. I went all over our house, sat down, listened. It is almost inaudible in my living room.
Also, to clarify for everyone out there, you don't know this, but I know this. This man has done that like 9 times. Yeah. The amount of concern going through this man's body when he was building this court, even before it was painted, he was like, all right, guys, I'm going to drive around the neighborhood and you guys hit for a little bit. Just do some volleys and I'm going to listen. Like 9 times.
Yeah, but I haven't done it with doubles yet.
Every single time he's done it, he's be like, I can't hear anything. So I think after maybe the 9th time, he's good. But I understand the concern.
Yeah, totally. So after doing that, he was like, dude, I can't hear it in my house. And he was like, you know what? He's like, I love the sound of pickleball. He's like, when you guys are out there playing, I love it. And I was like, this is the best thing I could have ever asked for.
You know what I've kind of just come to learn is guys, older people, especially like he's a bit older, he's retired, right? They just like being around people. And I think just having someone else outside in their backyard around him and like just hearing people be active, I think he just likes that.
I agree, actually.
Every time I've been outside recently, I was outside at a park, and this older guy was just walking a dog, walking by me, and in my head I was like, this guy's gonna say something to me. And sure enough, he's cracked some joke and said something to me. I'm like, they just love to like talk to people, and I think your neighbor's the same way, where he just wants to talk to someone.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I like talking to him. He's a super nice guy. So I was just like, okay, So I know he likes it. I know the second neighbor doesn't really care because they're barely even home.
Well, and their house is even further than this guy's like backyard.
It is further, but when I went on their side of the block, you can definitely hear it over there.
Sure. But like in his house?
In his house, I doubt
there's 0% chance.
Yeah.
Plus the privacy fence cuts off a lot of sound.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
Yeah, I think the concern about, well, we already knew 2 neighbors were fine.
Yep.
But the third one was like, this could be a question. I highly doubt. I mean, 0% chance.
Yeah, they're not outside really. So anyways, that was just another update on neighbor with the court. Court's been great, and sound seems to not be too problematic. All right, next update we've got. Let me grab this. Guess I don't really need to hold it up. Everyone's seen this paddle at this point.
Everybody knows.
All right, Holbrook Amra. So, after ours core crushed, we've already talked about this, so you don't really need to go over that. But yeah, ours had core crushed. Holbrook apparently did some investigation and then spoke to their factory. I'm going to give a little bit of context on this whole thing. So when everyone saw the x-rays about this, there was immediate concerns from anyone who saw an x-ray was like, ooh, that core does not look super healthy. It looks like there's areas that even show little signs of core crushing. And then even during dissections, you could literally see core crushing. You didn't even have to guess. You could just actually see that there was core crushing. And Holbrook's stance was kind of just like, we've tested it. It's fine. I know it doesn't look the greatest, but it's good. And then, ours obviously crushed. And I know of at least one other that did. And I haven't followed or heard any other reports since. But the paddle's still pretty new, right? It's only a couple weeks old. But anyways, after they did that, I guess they spoke to their factory. They found that their cores were being like slightly compressed, which not a shocker. Every reviewer pointed that out, that was probably happening. And apparently that's fixed now. So they sent me an updated x-ray, and I will pop that on the screen so you can see it. And the core looks significantly healthier. There's still an area that doesn't look awesome because of where the cut is. I just don't think there's a way to make that look cut. But if you compare side by side, it's night and day.
Yeah, with this type of construction, if you're going to mesh two cores together, there's no way of cutting a honeycomb core and making it look pretty. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I think when you're fusing two like that together, I think it's kind of unlikely.
Maybe it won't matter now that the cores aren't compressed. Who knows? Yeah. I personally still have a little bit of concern that it's going to break. I mean, all thermofoot paddles.
Well, yeah, break. I just think that area they are cut, I just think that's a weak point.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. But oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I got to give him props for getting on that quickly. I'm, I would say a little disappointed that like the concerns initially didn't raise bigger flags. Like I feel like when this stuff has been flagged in the past, it's very rare that reviewers are wrong. And I don't say that from a place of like arrogance, like, oh, reviewers are never wrong. I'm not saying that. But to me, it felt like very obvious there is a legitimate concern here. And until one was crushed quickly, it wasn't really addressed. But I will give them props for addressing it quickly after it was shown to very clearly be an issue.
Exactly. Yes, I feel the same way. Like, good on Holbrook. Props to them for being very quick and fixing the issue. But I will say, essentially same thing, different words. Is like when we were there and expressed these concerns in person, it was kind of just brushed off. And it was like, oh, no, it's fine. We've had people hit them and there's no issues. And that was just a little frustrating. But I feel like it's at least better now that they, fixed it quickly.
Yeah, rather than just like, we're just going to leave that.
It is what it is. I'm sure there's plenty of brands that would have done that.
Yeah. So I'll probably have you hit this some more and we'll see if this one gives any issues. We'll also see if there's a big power difference between now. I mean, without the core being compressed, there is almost certainly going to be a power drop, right? Mm-hmm. That's just how these work. So I'm curious if that changes the general opinion of the paddle out of the box. If it's like, you know what? Like it's good, but now it's not a rocket launcher.
Maybe it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So we'll keep you guys updated, but hopefully durability will hold up. But again, where the core's broken.
I gotta imagine it's gonna last a little longer than 10 hours now.
Yes, I agree. I have to imagine it will last longer than 10 hours.
I'd like to think.
Okay, so now that we got some of those updates out of the way, we want to talk about tons of foam paddles.
Baby.
I think we'll just kind of go through this list one by one. Some of these you guys are already familiar with. Some of them have been talked about. Some of them less so. But all of a sudden, it just feels like not only is July a gigantic paddle month, but there's a ton of these foam cores dropping. So the first one that every single person is going to be familiar with, because there's been a lot of hype around them, is the Honolulu NF line. So you have the NFT, the NFK, and then the NF, as well as the FC Plus. So that's 4 alone right there. That's pretty standard for Honolulu. They kind of just throw everything at the wall and see which one sticks.
You're telling me there's not 16 more models?
Dude, who knows? There's probably going to be even more foam models.
Those come in August.
Yeah.
Another 16 get dropped later.
That's right. So not going to go over those too much. The only thing I'll say is I did play with one. I played with the NF in mix this weekend, and I was really liking it. I think as I've hit them all more, I feel like my opinion's pretty well formulated at this point. NF is probably my favorite one, but it's what's happening with paddles, and we're going to talk about this more as we go, is they're all so good, and they're all so good at slightly different things that it's becoming so much less about this paddle's bad and this one's great, and it's more like someone would probably have a strong preference to this slightly different feel or sweet spot or hand speed.
Well, what's so funny about this is like this whole thing, I'm having deja vu all over again. Right as thermoform paddles came in, it was like, okay, this one's definitely better than this one. This thermoform paddle has some issues, blah, blah, blah. And then a ton of them hit the scene, and it was like, this feels like this, and this feels like this, and this is marginally better than that. It's like there's such small differences, right? Now that there's just thermoform paddles everywhere. And then it was full foam cores hit the scene. We've got the true foam. Great. The blue core. It's got issues, not the best. And then there's some good, some bad, and then a ton now hit the scene. And it's like, okay. It's so hard to tell a difference between them, you know, or it's like they're all the same. So it's the same thing all over again, but hopefully with all better durability.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's actually one of the things we're going to talk about is the warranty period, because on a number of these, the warranty has gone up. Some have remained the same, which I'm a little surprised by. For example, on the Honolulus, they are still only a 6-month warranty instead of jumping up to a full year on the foam cores. Mm-hmm. Would have been nice to see that. I feel like that's a little disappointing since at least so far with this year, the foam core paddles have held up considerably better than any Gen 3 or even any Gen 2. I'm not saying they're perfect. Any paddle can have an issue,
right?
But it's at the rate that they're having issues.
A lot less. A lot of people I know with true foams and other foam core paddles have had a lot less issues. The only ones I've heard big concerns with or had like actual issues is the early batches of 008s.
Yeah.
Had some issues breaking, but even still, it was not many of them. And then now it seems like that issue's been fixed with the 008. So.
Yep, for sure. So NF series from Honolulu, awesome line. FC Plus and NF are pretty similar overall. I think just taking away that fiberglass layer in the FC Plus is, making it softer, less stiff, not as jumpy at the kitchen. The biggest thing I think I would tell people at this point is the NF is more poppy and maybe more powerful overall. The FC Plus, a bit more dwell time, less poppy. You have a little bit better control, but that's the main difference. I think you could choose either of those paddles and be extremely happy. They're both very good. Just kind of depends on the feel you want. For me personally, I think right now I'm leaning towards the NF.
NF
is really good.
Paddle does feel good.
And then next up, we have the body helix. So they've been working on this TerraCore for a while, and this, I guess, is officially approved now and is getting released middle of July. We haven't hit this one a lot, so I'm not going to give any super deep dive on this. I just wanted to let people know it's coming. It'll be 190 before code. And this one, the core of it, so there's little circular holes that are just all over the core. It's almost like a rectangle of circular holes, and then it also has the same fiberglass patch.
It's not even really holes, right? It's more indents.
I thought they went all the way through, but I could be wrong.
Okay. I thought Carbon had a patent on that.
Well, Carbon does have a patent on it, but patents have never stopped anyone in pickleball from doing anything. So,
all right then.
I have not cut this one open yet, so I do not know for 100% certain that the holes go all the way through. So we could give the benefit of the doubt here. The only reason I say what made me think that the holes went all the way through is my understanding from seeing the Vatic Pro V core that we're going to talk about. That looks like the holes do go all the way through, and it looks like the exact same layout as the body helix for the holes.
And one of these companies is going to learn in pickleball. Don't infringe on
Maybe
patents.
they think the patent's not valid. I don't know. Maybe they think there's
loopholes.
Yeah. So, but okay, potentially could have indents. Not 100% sure there, but it does have that same square fiberglass patch that the True Foam has, which people either like or hate because that can make it a little more inconsistent to use.
Yeah, I didn't know that for sure when I was hitting it, but that makes sense after hearing that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it looks like an X-ray.
Hitting with it and playing with it, that makes sense. It's got a patch, a fiberglass patch there.
Sure.
It's springy.
Yeah, it's
springy.
It's definitely a poppy, springy paddle for sure. Now, warranty, I don't know if they're going to do something different for this. I was having a hard time looking at Body Helix's website. There was nothing on the page for this about the warranty, but looking at their other paddles are 90 days. So I'm really hoping for the full foam core that they would go up from 90 days, because otherwise that is going to be the lowest warranty for a full foam core paddle, which seems...
That'd be great.
90 days, in general, 90 days in pickleball is just pretty bad.
It's pretty low. And for $190,
yeah,
it's not great.
Totally. So after the Body Helix, we have the GRUVN Laser 16 HD Solid Foam.
Yep.
That is a big mouthful there.
What a name.
Also, have not put a ton of time on this one. We've hit it, but nothing huge yet. What I would say so far, I mean, you're going to hear this a lot, guys.
So often.
Yeah, they hit hard, and its PB core would suggest that. So it got 0.44, and what I think they're going to get back to me, they said they were going to talk to USAP. My understanding of PB core at the moment, and maybe this has changed because I feel like the rules change all the time, but my understanding was that after November of this year, you could not certify a paddle at 0.44, but if you certified it right now, you're good until May of next year.
Just seems like such an odd choice to follow through with that.
I don't know why USAP even allowed for that. Like, I think any new paddles past after 2025 January should have had to be 0.43. If you know
Agreed.
In 2026 it's going down, why would you?
Why allow it, for one, on USAP's part? And two, as a company, why would you want to offer that? Why not just get it under at 0.43 or below now?
Yeah.
Then like, hey, here's a product. Maybe they're just going to try to sneakily not say anything. And then like, oh, it's customer's problem once you've got it. Now it's like, sorry, it was already listed. It's going to get delisted after a certain point.
Yeah, I think GRUVN's understanding was that 0.44 was going to remain approved, but I'm not sure about that. So that's, I think, their understanding of it, but my understanding was different.
Interesting
and then
stamp here.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. It says PB Core 0.43 approved. But I think that's because the way USAP says it is like 0.43 is supposed to encompass anything that passes PB Core, I think.
Right.
But anyways, even if that's the case, I think one thing, I agree. Would I want to buy a paddle that has that and then is going to be gone next year? No, but when I really sit down and think about the people that watch our content or like in the Discord, the vast majority of these people are not sticking with a paddle for a year. So
True.
It's like, think May next year, there's going to be something better that people probably don't care about this anymore, right? I'm not saying that's everyone out there, obviously, but yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, look at
that's. I was just looking. I was looking at the wall, trying to be like, what's a
what
paddle
was a year
that,
ago?
J2K,
yeah,
or like the original shapeshifters.
Yep.
Like, there's just paddles that's like, okay, that's like
feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that anymore. Or like the Volair paddles, like those are. If you hit those next to some new paddles, they feel so extremely outdated.
Right.
So
anyways. Just be aware of the 0.44 thing. That's still being sorted out. No one really knows at this point. Again, with USAP, it always just feels kind of confusing. But as far as the rest of the paddle goes, it's on pre-order now for $179 before a code. It releases July 22nd. And then again, this has a 6-month warranty, which, surprise, it's not going to a year. But we'll see. I think the performance of this paddle is very good. I think there's like very appealing aspects of it. I've heard people say they feel like it is the most powerful foam core paddle right now. I'd have to hit it side by side everything, but there's so many powerful foam core paddles now that it's like, I don't know.
I've hit this. I personally don't think it's the most powerful foam core paddle.
Sure.
I wouldn't. I mean, it hits pretty hard.
Yeah.
And it's poppy, but it's not at the top.
And hearing some of the difference, it makes me wonder like, okay, there's always a couple things with paddles, right? There are so many, paddles being introduced into the market all the time. You can't compare it to everything, right? If you were going to compare it to every major paddle, you're comparing it to 20 paddles. And now your list of comparison is insane. So sometimes I wonder, what was the last paddle someone hit or was comparing it to? That obviously sets a benchmark in how you feel about a paddle. And then the other thing I always go back to is there any manufacturing variance or is there anything wrong with this design that could make it be inconsistent, and some people get a hotter one, some people get a less hot one. Not saying that's what's happening with GRUVN. I'm just saying we've seen that enough times to whenever there's differing opinions, it always just makes me go, it's one of these two things. Which is it?
Yep.
In this case, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
have to wait and see.
Yep. Then after that, Enhanced Pickleball has one coming out in July, which is what you described, which is the holes don't go all the way through.
Yeah.
They're like indents almost. So I don't have a release date, don't have a price. That's all I know about the design, and I don't know anything about the warranty, but another foam core paddle coming out in July. This company, who I think I've heard about before, but I don't really know anything about, Element 6. They have a paddle. I have no idea how to pronounce this. It's just all caps, SUTR.
The SUTR.
SUTR, yeah, maybe SUTR, something along those lines. Also, could not find a warranty on their website. I looked all over and I couldn't find it. So I don't know theirs, but their price is $199, and I've heard some people say some pretty good things about it. So that one's out. And then two that are pretty exciting, and this is what we're going to focus on today, is the Gearbox GX2 Power and then the Vatic Pro V-Core. Both of those warranties are 1 year. The Blue Core is lifetime. The True Foam is 1 year. So that's where I was saying, like, some of these ones that are still 6 months, I'm like, okay, you've got companies like Diadem that clearly feel very confident in the full foam core. They're willing to offer lifetime. And then Vatic, who has been a budget brand and has not done warranties that long, is now also doing 1 year on the full foam. So it just kind of makes me feel like there's not a reason for these companies to not do 1 year.
Yeah, if other brands are doing it, especially like Vatic, why can't you?
Yeah. I don't know. Guess we'll see. So those are kind of all of them coming, and I know there's more. There's more coming, and there's some good ones coming. So just as I think everyone expected, it's the year of foam. Last couple years with the year of thermoforming in Gen 3, it's now foam.
It's now foam. Foam is the future.
Yeah, that's what everyone keeps saying. And yeah, I think before we get into comparing the V-Core and the Gearbox, one of the things you and I were talking about when we were hitting a lot of these paddles this last week, and especially this morning before this podcast, is the gap. I think you guys are going to hear this on a lot of podcasts. People are going to say, oh, the NF hits harder than, I'm just going to make stuff up here. The Ripple hits harder than the NF, but the GRUVN hits harder than the NF, but the V-Core is like in between a GRUVN and an NF, and the Gearbox is above a V-Core. Like, you're going to hear like all these different rankings, and I guarantee you, if you watch 5 podcasts, I bet you get 5 different rankings with like maybe 5th and 1st being consistent.
Yeah.
But anything in the middle is going to be pretty similar. And I think what we have gotten to in terms of firepower, pop, power, all that, the differences are about this big. Mm-hmm. We're not talking this where it's so obvious. So if you hear people rank them differently, I would be less worried about, oh, that paddle got 4th. I bet that's a pretty big difference between 4th and 2nd or 1st for firepower. I think it's actually a pretty small difference.
Yeah, when we say like, oh, this paddle is a little below this one, not even say little, like we just say one's above the other, it's not a big difference. It's like, I'm questioning, like, this could be more poppy, this could be a little bit more powerful, and it's like, okay, I'll put it here. And it's just so minor and minute differences. They're all powerful.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way. They all hit hard.
Yep.
Now it's just like, at what scale? Like, what percentage more?
Yeah.
2%?
And I'm willing to bet you put all these on radar guns, even if you put them on a PB core. Well, you're already seeing on PB core machines. All of them are 0.43, 0.42, 0.44. That scale is already small, but I guarantee you if you did a radar test on all of these, most of the differences is not going to be greater than like 1.5 miles per hour. Right. In fact, probably smaller than that.
Now, what I will say, though, the higher the level you get, the bigger that minute difference makes.
Yeah, for sure.
So, for example, like we might say the Gearbox is slightly poppier than the V-Core. Okay, realistically, it just sounds like it doesn't matter that much. But when you and I are hitting, I'll tell you right now, one of those paddles came at me way faster in hands and made even though it's like a minor difference in feel, my perception of it coming at me was very big.
Yeah.
And so the higher level you get, those small differences make a big impact.
Yeah, for sure. And then before we get into the comparisons, got 2 last things. The PaddleTek GTO-C. This is PaddleTek's hybrid. This just came out today. They did it in the 12.7 millimeter and the 14.3. It's just another shape in the Bantam line. We'll have a full video on this tomorrow. I didn't want to put it up today because we're obviously putting a podcast up. But I'll just give you some quick impressions if you want to know before the video goes up tomorrow. The paddle's good. I think in terms of playability out of the box, no weight, nothing. I think the GTO-C is probably their best one just because they did more customization with where they placed weight compared to the other paddles. Like there's more in it. So I think there's less customizing you really feel the need to do out of it.
Do not expect, just because you see 12.7, do not expect a light paddle.
Yeah, the GTO-C for a hybrid is on the high end. It's like 117 to 120.
Yeah. Consistently, the ones we had were in the 120s.
Yeah. Actually, I think what we had was, of the three, we had 117, 119, 120.
Yeah.
So
on the heavier end.
Definitely on the heavier end. But I will say, I said this in the video that's going up tomorrow, but I know a lot of people are going to see that number and they're going to immediately go, junk, too heavy for a hybrid, don't want it. The paddle plays really well. I think if you were interested in a hybrid PaddleTek, unless you're someone who knows you can't swing something over like 110 or 113 is your absolute max, I still think these are worth looking into. I don't love swing weights that high, and this is my favorite PaddleTek so far.
Yeah.
I would pick this over the ESQ and the elongated.
I'm glad we brought this up because I had a interesting thing I wanted to talk about for a second. PaddleTek, before these came out, like just their new paddles in general, kind of got left in the dust. They didn't make anything for years, and they just like were forgotten about. Then they came out with some new paddles, new technology, and then all of a sudden it was everywhere. It blew up, right? These are some of the most popular paddles now, and they're good. For good reason they became popular. But now it's still old technology. They're still good, but they have drawbacks. Sweet spot's not great. Stability's not great. Like they have issues. Feel can be, a bit of a concern for a lot of people. Now that we're in the full foam era, all these things, when is this going to become irrelevant, if ever? And people are going to be like, that's old technology, doesn't feel good. Like it's always going to play well.
Yeah.
But I think there's just benefits to, and for my feel and how I like to play and what I like, to full foam cores and other paddles than these. Like I would pick, like for example, like the NF over this.
Really? I'm actually surprised you would.
I would rather play with, if I had to pick two hybrids, even though this shape is probably better, I like the feel of the NF a lot more than this.
Okay, sure.
And I just think like, at what point does this Gen 1, like when is PaddleTek going to have to make something new,
like new technology-wise?
Because all it's been is shapes.
Yeah.
And then, we put some weights in some different spots. Okay, well, we could do that.
Yeah, totally.
So, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to think about. Like, when is this going to become irrelevant?
Yeah, I think it's always interesting, right? Because I think as technology has gone on, I think a lot of times people think, oh, old gen, it's bad. I think the PaddleTeks now are probably getting closer to that point where they're trailing off, because a lot of these full foam core paddles, you're getting great power, you're getting a huge sweet spot, you're getting great hand speed, you're getting what feels like almost everything in one package, where there are definitely drawbacks. Like at the top, the PaddleTeks have always had this dead spot, still has it.
Sweet spot drop off is hard.
Yeah, and I feel like you really have to be a higher level player to use it. But I think for some of those players, if you are one of the higher level people who can consistently nail center, like the paddle is awesome. It's just you are punished so badly when you miss. So I don't know. I don't know when the point will come, but I think these are still relevant, but I think they are probably going to start losing more relevance as these full foams come out.
They've dropped their placement in the ranking, in my opinion, where they used to be like, oh, I'd probably put this as like number 2 or 3 power paddle on the market.
Yeah.
Well, now it might be 4 or 5, even maybe 6. Like it's dropped down significantly because there's just so many other better power paddle. And by better, just for me, like
the
feel is
package.
better, sweet spot, just everything overall feels better than these.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's going to be interesting. But if you're a fan of the Bantams and wanted a hybrid, here it is. I think it plays well, and you'll see a video from me tomorrow about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the last thing. So I've used the True Foam going on like 6-7 months here, maybe almost even 8 months at this point. Think it's almost time to retire it. We had a good run.
Wow, he's leaving.
I don't know what to yet, but after hitting all these new options, and let me be clear, it's not because the True Foam is bad, but hitting these other ones, I definitely think there are aspects of them that are more appealing. Whether it be feel or maybe the sweet spot size is better. I think those are kind of going to be some of the determining factors. I was hitting my True Foam and I was like, I still like this paddle, but I just think some of the other paddles are going to edge it out a bit. So
yeah, my only gripe, I'm just going to throw this out there. I like True Foam. It's one of my favorite paddles. It's up there in my ranking of favorite paddles. But it has commonly been known I don't like 14 millimeter paddles. So it's surprising that I even like the True Foam as much as I do. Why can't Carbon make a 16 millimeter version of the True Foam when there's all these other 16 millimeter full foam core paddles? And they just feel so good. They feel so good. I just like, if I could get a 16 millimeter version of the True Foam, oh my gosh, I would love that. I don't know, maybe it's not possible, but I just like these other paddles, like the GRUVN or the NF or.
So you would prefer the feel over all of those?
Possibly, yes. I would need them in the same exact shape. I'd like for a true comparison, but I've just always liked the feel of a 16 millimeter paddle, the plow through, the stability, the dwell, like just the feel of 16 millimeter paddle, just so much better than 14.
I just feel like it's like so different though with foam, because like with polymer it's like different, or with polymer, you can definitely feel, but like foam, it's like different densities. So it almost like doesn't matter what the thickness is to some extent.
But it does. It does. The amount of weight in the face and the weight distribution, I swear it matters. I
think my point is that I think you could get a 14 that would feel like some of these 16s. You could get a 16 that feels.
I 100% disagree. Like just the Vatics, for example, are 16.
Yeah.
Those, like just the plow through, the density, the stability of them is just, I've tried weighting up a True Foam so many different ways, and another 14 millimeter full foam core paddle, and I just cannot get it to feel exactly the same no matter what I do. Just something about a 16 millimeter
this guy's
core,
attached
man.
to the number 16.
Yes, I am. I will hold that till the day I die. It is just, I love it.
Yes. Okay. Well, now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk about our impressions of let's start with the Vatic V Pro V Core.
Okay.
So you guys may or may not have seen this. I wouldn't say there's been a huge announcement. Vatic put up some teasers. Long story short here is they're releasing a full foam core paddle, $109. After discount code, it'll be $99. This is I feel like it's a pretty big bomb to kind of drop on the industry because, okay, everything was like $280. And then, the NF was a substantial drop and exciting at nearly $200.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vatic was just like, we'll go almost $200 cheaper than the top guys, and we'll make you $99.
Right, you could buy almost three V cores for one True Foam.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
That's wild. Not that you would ever need three of them, but if you wanted three shapes.
I mean, grit, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just, I don't think anyone saw that coming. I don't even feel like they had to go that cheap. I feel like they could have went Saga price. Even at $130, it was a good deal.
That's why it's weird to me. Is like, okay, but the Saga's more expensive.
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to hit them side by side. They're very different.
Yeah.
But I don't know, $99 for a full foam core paddle that hits hard. Like it
just feels like they could have commanded a higher price.
100. If they wanted to, it still would have been extremely exciting and a great deal at $140.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
little strange.
They probably were just like, what, we'll just kill everyone.
Yep.
Just at least in price.
Undercut.
So you start. You give me your impressions of the paddle here.
Okay. I would say positives, very poppy. You get a high sitter volley, goodbye. Like that ball's gone. Power from the baseline, good. Spin, standard, not crazy, not below like, I feel like I can't shape the ball. Spin is fine, not a concern. But now where it starts to drop off a bit, it is a bit touchier. It is a bit harder to control. The sweet spot is shrunken down compared to other full foam core paddles. It's like at the kitchen dinking, and especially below the net volley dinks, like little just push dinks, were very, very easy to just pop up and just give you a forehand. And that was my biggest concern, where it was like, okay, I launched one up on a volley dink and I just got blasted in the chest. And then I tried to be a bit touchier and it just went nowhere and went in the bottom of the net. So I had a bit of a struggle connecting with the paddle at the kitchen in terms of dinking, But man, when you got in a hands battle or anything fast, this paddle just plows the ball. It's crazy. Like I hit some balls where I'm like, I don't know when the last time I hit a ball that hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, I could feel it too. If you caught a volley right, I was like, okay, I'm just going to turn around. This isn't worth it.
There was a couple times where I had just like a shoulder high sitter and you just practically walked off the court.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not worth getting hit by that ball.
No, it's not. Yeah, I'd feel pretty similar. I definitely feels like a touchy paddle. And one of the things, maybe as I play with it more, my opinion will change on this, but one of the things I was telling you on the court is at the kitchen, the paddle feels one way off the face. And as I back up to the baseline and I start hitting drives or anything where I'm taking a big swing, it feels to me that the way the paddle feels is like a lot different. So we were talking to a friend the other day and we were describing the V-Core to them. And I was originally saying it's a pretty stiff, like hard paddle. That's how I remembered it. And then this morning when we were dinking, I was like, wow, I was like pretty far off on that. I was like, I don't think this is like really that stiff of a paddle. And then when I backed up to the baseline, stiff is not the right word. It's like dense, but also just like kind of hard.
What we came to our conclusion on the court this morning was firm. It feels firm. Like stiff is not the right word in my opinion. I don't think it feels stiff like something like a PaddleTek feels stiff or a Power Air, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got a firm feel to it. Like think the Yolas and other Gen 3 paddles that are really dwelly and springy. Those feel like it just springs and kind of cushions the ball and launches it. These feel just really firm, dense, and less springy.
Yeah.
But they just hit the ball really hard. It's a really weird. I can't really think of another paddle that feels the same way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was having a really hard time thinking of how to describe this to people. And, it's not been a lot of time, so maybe more will fix that. But yeah, it's... I definitely found that shots where I had to hit softer were really tricky for me to figure out. And I think some of that, too, is compared to some of the other foam core paddles I've been hitting the last week, I think the sweet spot is tighter on the Vatic. And I think you feel there's a pretty big difference from dead center to when you get to the edge and how it feels off the face. Like, I think that feel changes. And then I just think it doesn't return as much energy. So missing just felt more punishing on the Vatic.
I also think even for the elongateds, where typically elongated shapes of sweet spots shifted up a little bit, these feel like it shifted a little bit lower.
Okay.
More towards the true center for an elongated.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So I think for $100, first of all, it's going to be the most powerful paddle for $100. Not even close.
100%.
Yeah, like I know the Friday Fever is there, but not even close.
I was going to say that before it was like Friday Fever was kind of like I would never put it as a power paddle, but it hit pretty hard for a paddle at $99. This is, they're not, it blows it out of the water.
I mean, this Vatic is competing with power paddles in terms of firepower, pop power, all that, competing with $300 paddles.
Like if I had to pick between if it was a $99 paddle battle, let's just call it, I'd pick the V-Core over the Fever just because...
For power or
just in general,
paddle?
as a paddle.
Sure.
Because, like, Fevers feel good, but it's that foam ring, Gen 3, honeycomb. What's the warranty?
I've heard different things. I think someone was saying it was 6 months, but then when I read their website, it makes it sound like 3 months.
Yeah, it's that happiness guarantee thing. Yeah, so let's just say 3 months. That's what we kind of know. 3-month warranty, honeycomb, Gen 3 paddle, probably going to core crush. Like, we just know they're going to break versus full foam could have issues, but compared to other full foam paddles we've seen, has had a lot less issues and hits harder. I would rather have that. Not that just always hitting harder is better, but I think I would play better at a higher level with the V-Core than I would with the Fever.
Now, here's what I would say. If I'm looking at most people out there, I would probably recommend the Fever to most people, the average player, over the V-Core. I think they would be harder to use the V-Core.
I agree. I think the V-Core is a much touchier, harder paddle to use, but has higher performance like ceiling.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Fever.
But I think, if you were going to put it in, your average 3.5, 4.0's hands, like...
Fever's better.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. So, let me just read off some of the specs. So as always, they're doing it in all the shapes they always do. So they have the Flash in a long handle and then a shorter handle. They have the V7. The Flash is a hybrid. The V7 is their elongated. They have a shorter handle and a longer handle. And then they have a wide body, which is the Bloom. So I'll just read these off quick. The Flash long handle hybrid has a swing weight of 116, twist weight of about 6. The Flash with a shorter handle has a swing weight of 112. That's very appealing. Twist weight of 6.32. The V7 long handle, elongated, higher swing weight, but I wouldn't like higher, but not the worst. 123 swing weight, 6.25 twist weight. The V7 with a shorter handle, 120 swing weight, and then the twist weight went. I even ran it multiple times, but it went up quite a bit. It was 6.62, which for an elongated paddle that's very high.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. And then the Bloom, they said that the ones the reviewers got are heavier for the Blooms and that they're going to try and make them lighter for the mass consumer. I feel like almost every single Vatic launch, happens.
Really?
I feel like for at least the last 2 or 3 launches this happened. I'm pretty sure it happened with the Saga where they were like, oh, these ones are heavier. We're going to try and make them lighter. And I feel like before that, before the Sagas, I remember that happening again. So
got to be something to that. I'm trying to like piece something together in my head to create some weird theory, but I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah. So anyways, ours was 114 swing weight for that. And then the twist weight was 7.11. Right now, the Flash with the standard handle is the only one that's approved. They anticipate the other ones will get approved, but the opinions we were giving you guys today were all on the Flash because you never know when, with PB Core these days, you don't know what's going to happen.
Dude, seriously.
So yeah, those are the stats on those. Let me pop back over to my actual notes here just to see. Code 133. All right, here we go. We are back. Okay. So yeah, you have plenty of shapes and options if you're looking for different shapes. That's something Vatic has always done a really good job. You want a long handle, elongated? You want a short handle, hybrid?
Well, and what I like about it is it's not like, okay, you've got the short handle hybrid, and say you like that similar kind of face shape, but you just want a longer handle. You don't have to have like a completely different model that's completely different shape and it's elongated and it might look really weird. It's literally that same shape with a longer handle. So if you like that and you're like, it's just be more comfortable if I had a longer handle, they literally give you that exact thing. That's where it's like, okay, let's say the J2K. It's like, okay, sure, this paddle feels fine, but I'm like, I wish I had a longer handle. The elongated shape that I've hit, I don't know what the name is for Honolulu, I feel like it's completely different.
For the which, sorry?
For Honolulu's elongated versus the J2K.
Oh, sure.
I don't know what the name scheme for the
J7K.
J7K. Maybe I just haven't hit one in a long time, but I feel like remembering, or maybe it's another brand, where the shape is just completely different. And so I like the fact that Vatic is just the exact same with longer handle.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what I will say is, when I first saw this get announced, I was like, wow, this might just kill every other foam option. Like the NF might just be dead before it even got into people's hands. I think just like how the Prism and the Fever and the Jelly Beans at $100 did not kill every other polymer paddle out there, I think it's going to be a very similar thing here. This is going to be an awesome paddle, extremely high performing. You could absolutely go play this in a pro tournament. You could play this in a 5-0 bracket. You could play it as a 3-0 if you want to. It has the performance to get you as far as you could possibly want to go. But I think people will still like some of the other paddles. Mm-hmm. Like we said before, sweet spot is a thing on these, them being a little touchier. People might find that their soft game is better with these other paddles, but still retaining a lot of power.
This one is different enough from other full foam core options that it's maybe not necessarily drawbacks. I mean, there are some drawbacks, but it's different enough where it's like, okay, this isn't the best option, right? Yeah. Like, even though it's $99, it's not, like, if money didn't matter, right? This is not the one I would pick.
Yeah, for sure. And then, as we said before, these do go up to 1-year warranty, so love to see that. I mean, nice. At $99, 1-year warranty. It's just so many, it's such a good package of everything.
The whole deal.
Yeah, they always crush it.
Very enticing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of all we have to say about the V-Cores. I think they're going to be awesome paddles. But, if you are someone who's on the fence about what your next paddle is going to be, I'd probably wait almost until the end of July just to kind of feel out what everything else is, and then make a move of like, oh, you know what? This is kind of what I tend to prefer. I'm going to go with that one. I wouldn't jump on the hype of one right away.
Sure.
Okay, Gearbox. So I just played this one in a tournament. I almost went in blind with this thing. I'll tell you how this went down. The other day when Sarah had some friends over, I played one game with this Gearbox. I hopped in and I was just like, oh, I'll hit the Gearbox. Why not? I haven't really touched this thing a lot yet. I played with it and I was like, wow, I really like how this feels. It's like everything about this is awesome. And then had the tournament. It was literally the next day. I was telling Sarah, I said, because she knows paddles well enough at this point. I said, I think I'm going to use that Gearbox tomorrow. And she's like, why would you use the Gearbox? She was like, you just played a tournament with the Pro 4 and you were fine with it. Just use the Pro 4. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to use the Gearbox. I was like, it'd be good for work.
This guy wonders why he hasn't hit 5.0 yet.
That's true. I care a little bit more about my work duper than I care about my actual duper, I think.
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, that's kind of how it came to be. I was just like, this would be fun, so I'm going to use it. And, obviously when I got to the tournament, I brought the Pro 4 and I also brought the NF, and I was like kind of warming up with each just to be like, which one do I prefer today? And the Gearbox felt fine enough. So that's how it came to be, but I wouldn't recommend people do that.
Definitely not.
So the Gearbox GX2 Power, I will just give some background information on it so everyone kind of knows. This paddle comes out August 7th. They didn't give us any embargo talking about it. I will say sometimes I wish when paddles, you can talk about it this early. A month isn't that bad, right? We're about to hit July. A month is a decent heads up, but sometimes I'm just like, so many things can come out that in a month, it just, in people's minds, like, I've already heard about this. It's outdated, even though it's literally brand new and hasn't been on the market yet.
The weird phenomenon we have in our industry.
Yeah.
Where things can just like fade out of popularity so fast.
Right. Even when they're still good.
Exactly.
So anyways, August 7th release date, price $280. They are going to do discount codes for this, which is great to see. I think I'm very glad to see that, just because Gearbox has historically not, and I think it just makes it a little bit more competitive when they can drop the price down a bit with the code. So what's new? First, they've clearly taken some good feedback. I will say, Rafa, in probably the last year, has been really good about hearing the complaints about his paddles and trying to address them. Like, I've had conversations with him about like shapes and being like, this is why I think the Integra is a miss. Here's why I think the stability is a miss. And it's not usually met with a, look, I'm an engineer. I've been doing this for
I'm
probably
smarter
longer
than you.
Yeah, he hasn't done that.
Yeah.
So,
I respect that a lot from him. When we were down in Texas and we got lunch with him and I raised some concerns and we talked about it, there was never any like really hard pushback where it's like, oh no, you're clearly just wrong on this. This is just better, right? Like, he takes our feedback very well. He hears us and then he actually implements it, which is great to see.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, reviewer feedback. So this paddle has a Gen 3 ring around the SST core that you guys are used to seeing. So it's looks just like the GX2 core, but instead of going all the way out to the edges now there's a Gen 3 ring that goes around the SST core. There's more feedback than the original GX2, which was a huge complaint. It was very hard to feel the ball. The sound sounds a lot like a Pro 4. The feel is not quite there. It's still a little bit more dampened. I'll get to that a little bit more later. And then they did some perimeter style weighting. I don't have an x-ray handy for me to show you guys yet. I'm actually working on being able to get x-rays done a little bit quicker here soon. But basically they took fiberglass strips and I'll just grab that. I never held up that V-core that whole time. Could have just put it on the table. If you guys are watching the podcast, here's the V-core. If you want to just...
Very aesthetically pleasing. I will say, I like the look of it. It's very simple. It's quiet. The edge guard is like a matte black finish, which is...
It's kind of nice.
It's really nice. I like it.
Yeah.
It feels great. And then it's just got their logo on the side. Looks good.
Yeah. I like how they did the Vatic Pro on the side. Just looks nice.
Yeah.
But anyways,
clean.
There's the V-core. Forgot to hold that up.
Boom. I kind of was wondering. I was like, did he not bring it down here?
I'm an idiot. All right. So here's the GX2 Power. So basically right around the bottom corner.
Actually, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Before we get into too much, I just want to as we talk about Rafa taking our concerns and feedback, I just want to give one bit of feedback real quick. I see you. Interesting. You haven't let go of the paddle yet. That's kind of funny. Oh, always fun. It's because this butt cap is rounded. Please just make it flat and make my particular life easier. One out of like a billion people. I just wanted to stand up, man. That's all I ask for.
Yeah,
right, that's it.
This is literally if you want to talk about the 1% of people that can complain. Yeah, this is the 0.01% of the 1%.
No, literally.
Complaining.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a small complaint, but man, when you're like, hey, you got to go film these paddles, I'm like, today is going to suck.
Yeah, just for more context for you guys, a thing that all paddle reviewers deal with, and it can be really annoying, is depending on how the butt caps are done on paddles do not always stand up. If you're watching, if I let go of this, it's just going to tip over. And so when you're trying to film B-roll, whether it's rotating or it's just standing up and you're trying to get a shot, it's very difficult. And you either have to find something to lean it against or to clamp at the base. Long story short, it just makes filming a little bit more annoying.
It makes particularly just my life a lot more annoying. And any brand in my head, anytime I film a paddle and it doesn't stand up, I immediately have negative feelings toward that brand. Obviously, it's let go very quickly, but in that moment, it's probably one of the things that gets me the most riled up and angry out of anything in life right now.
Man, you got to find some other things to get angry about.
Dude, it's crazy. But anyways, there you go. That's my complaint.
Yeah, Moving on. Anyways, perimeter weighting, starting at about where the corner meets going vertical here, they have these fiberglass strips that are internal weighting to boost the twist weight. So they've clearly heard us complain about twist weight many times.
Yep.
And guess what? This is not even close Gearbox's best sweet spot.
By far.
Like, this is not only that, it is the first Gearbox where, when I played the tournament, this is such a funny story. I did not think about the sweet spot a single time. There was not one shot I hit where I went, oh, I was like, that Gearbox sweet spot, or even just a slightly negative sweet spot. I was just like, oh, yeah, like I never thought about it. And then later in the tournament, I switched back to the Pro 4 for a couple reasons. One, I just wanted, this is such an ironic thing to say, I wanted a little bit more control. That's a really weird thing to say about the Pro 4, but I wanted a little bit more control, and I also did want to compare it to the GX2 so I could talk about it on the podcast this weekend. But as soon as I went to my Scorpius Pro 4 14 millimeter, which has weight all the way from here to like here, and for those of you listening, that's like the top of the grip, like the vast majority of the side of the paddle, immediately I could feel a sweet spot difference. And I would not have ever said the Pro 4s had a bad sweet spot. The 14s are tighter. They're not huge. But like immediately I was like, oh gosh, I was like, I kind of want to go back to the Gearbox for the sweet spot. And Gearbox and sweet spots are not anything anyone has ever put in the same sentence.
Think about the things that have been changed for this paddle from previous Gearboxes where we've complained. It's like, edge guard, great. More twist weight, great. Lower swing weight, great. And now it's the best Gearbox we've ever hit. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, I'm going to put this down quick because I'm tired of holding this.
See?
So anyways, yes, the sweet spot is significantly bigger to the point where I don't even think of it as a drawback. Like I feel like it's too early to say I'd put it in the best of the best sweet spots. I've only played one weekend with it, but it was enough that I didn't complain about it, and I think that's a good sign. Let me just read off the specs quick for those of you curious. So they have a new hybrid shape, which is a true hybrid now. I held it up to an 11624 Vapor, I held it up to a Honolulu J2K, and I held it up to a 6.0 double black diamond. They're all the same length. I think if you want to get really, really technical, it's slightly shorter than a double black diamond, but you hold it up, and when I say there is no visual difference or even like running your finger over, it's so small that I'm like, this could never make a playable difference to the paddle.
Yeah.
But technically, the DBD was just a little bit longer.
I will say, out of all the hybrids, this shape is probably my favorite.
Any hybrid?
Yes. Other than potentially one that I'm not sure I can talk about right now.
Yes. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah. So, but it is up there as one of my favorites. Probably one of two out of all hybrids in general. I do like this hybrid shape. It's good.
I think it's good. Swing weight on it is 110, which for a hybrid, that's on the low end of a hybrid. And for Gearbox, who has historically had heavy paddles, boom.
It's like wide body swing weight.
Yeah. No, literally. And then the elongated, also a great swing weight, 117 swing weight. So that's plenty reasonable for an elongated.
Standard.
Hybrid twist weight, 6.4. And then the elongated is 5.9, which is in the realm of a lot of elongated paddles.
I'd say the hybrid swing weight is like lower than standard. And then all the other specs for elongated and the hybrid are equal with the standard.
With industry standard.
Industry standard specs.
Yeah.
Like elongated swing weight in the upper teens, and then twist weight for both is pretty normal for elongated and hybrid.
Elongated, I'd probably say that is like a little bit on the lower end, right? You don't see a ton of elongateds that go below 117. I feel like 119, 120 is probably more standard. There's probably
I just feel like this paddles that I've done specs on recently and just seen like for swing weight and elongated paddles are like 117, 118. Obviously there's a few there in the 120s.
Yeah.
But I feel like most of them have been in the upper teens.
Maybe I'll have to run a median on my database and see what the current mean is of swing weights. But anyways, it's in a good spot. It's not heavy.
Right.
And on top of that, the balance points are all lower.
Nice.
So
That's
not super heavy.
Big positive.
Yep. So they're in normal ranges. So again, everything about it, it's like they took everything people have complained about of all the gearboxes in the last couple of years, and they were like, okay, fixed it. I mean, even if you compare the GX2, again, the biggest complaint was that it was so muted. It's not muted anymore.
Yep. It's definitely still a very muted paddle, but nowhere near as what the original GX2 was.
It's like
not even
enough
close.
feedback.
Yes, it's enough to actually know where the ball's going. When I'm hitting it, I can tell what the ball's doing. Yeah. But compared to a Pro 4 or the V Core or other paddles, it's definitely on the muted side.
Yeah, for sure. So let me just talk about my tournament experience, and then we can kind of hop into what you thought of it. So playing with it, I played it stock. The only thing I did was slapped an overgrip on it. I wanted to get an initial impression of it without weight. Again, I really didn't feel like it needed it. I mean, I might slap it on there just because it's on the low end of swing weight, and maybe you could bump it up and I guess increase the stability a little bit. But played it stock and it was great. I didn't really struggle too much with it until one of my last matches of the day, where I felt like I was sailing returns and I was struggling blocking the ball. But I would almost say it was less so the paddle in that moment and more so me, because the team we were playing were just bangers and I struggle playing with bangers. And even it'll come up more, but the next day when I played mixed with a completely different paddle, I played a banger team and struggled in the same way. So I don't want to say it was entirely the gearbox's fault, but there were some returns and I was like, dang, that went a lot further than I felt like that should have went for how I swung.
Sure.
So that was the only time I really noticed. And then maybe occasionally, like when I'd hit a counter, I was like, that was pretty jumpy for how much I swung. I got more out of it than I was expecting.
Sure.
So, but overall, it was great. Like I said, there was no complaint about the sweet spot. I felt like touch was pretty good. Spin, that's actually another thing that they did change on these. The peel ply texture is a little bit rougher, and it's little. Like, we're not talking, some of these Honolulu paddles you rub your hand on and you're like, wow, that's rough. It's not that. It's still on, I would say, the smoother end, but compared to other gearboxes, you rub your hand on it and you're like, okay, yeah, they made that a little bit rougher. And I felt like that did make a difference in my ability to shape some of these shots. I'm excited to run some of the numbers on this, but serves, I felt like very deep, a lot of topspin, and even some of the drives. I was like, okay, these are like going up and down really quick.
Yeah.
So it felt like an improvement over older gearboxes in that regard. But yeah, I mean, the tournament overall, like, I kind of wish I had played the rest of the day with it just to see if I noticed any issues. But my initial impression of it was, not only is it Gearbox's best paddle, which I feel like gets said all the time because it's always like they make these small upgrades, but this is the first time that I think in Gearbox's history that there is not one big thing that holds this paddle back from being awesome. There's every single Gearbox, there's always been one thing. Sweet spot was tight. It's hard to shape the ball. There's not enough spin, or it's heavy. Every single one of those is now fixed, I think.
Yeah.
So I feel like not only is it the best paddle, but it competes with every other top paddle on the market.
I'd agree.
Like, I think, in my opinion, it is a genuine Pro 4 competitor. Like, I think it it hangs with that paddle perfectly.
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you think?
So to be clear, I have not played any actual games, like doubles games with it. I've only hit with it in drilling and practice with you. A lot of very similar feedback. I think obviously stability is way better. I think pop and power. Pop is quite high, but comparing it this morning when we were hitting like it next to a Pro 4 and the V Core, definitely a lot less, a lot more muted than those two. A lot more feedback from say the Pro 4.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Just sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to say about the feedback difference between that and the Pro 4, the way I was describing it this morning was if you had like, you know how iPhones, they always do the hard, it's like every 2 years.
Different generations.
Hard corner edges, and then they like round the edges. That's what this felt like. And that doesn't mean that the Pro 4 feels bad. I actually love how the Pro 4s feel.
It's crisp.
It's very crisp. I feel like you just take some of that crispness and like round it off, and it's not as crisp anymore. That's how I feel the Gearbox is.
I like muted paddles, and I like how this felt. The one thing I'd say, and this is such a small minor thing, is like really hard putaways and stuff or drives. Such a satisfying feeling when you have a sharp, crisp paddle like the Pro 4.
Oh yeah, it's like a crack.
Exactly, and it's just not quite there with the Gearbox. Not that matters that much, but it's just not as satisfying, I'd say. So maybe it's less fun, but performance-wise, it's great. So at the kitchen, I liked it. I had to push through and follow through with my dinks a little bit more to get them over the net. So I think on slower swings
compared to the
Pro 4 and the V Core.
Yeah.
So I think on slower swings, pop was dampened, but then when you get into a hands battle or put away, pop exponentially shot up. It went very high. If you put a little bit of flick into a power into a flick, the ball just moved so fast. And then from the baseline was not lacking at all. Had good spin. I felt like drops had good control. Had good spin on my rolls and drops. So I had very, very few complaints. Like I actually do like this paddle quite a bit. I didn't hit the elongated this morning at all. I hit the hybrid. So I should hit that more. But I do, overall, I really don't have many complaints. Maybe it's still a touch on the muted side, but it's not too muted to the point where I'm like, I can't play with this.
Yeah.
I do like it. But now thinking about the old GX2, you know what the biggest improvement of all time that they changed with this paddle?
Don't even say it. I know what you're going to say. Don't even say it.
The craziest, biggest improvement. Forget swing weight. Forget balance
you're
point.
You're getting flamed in the comments.
Power.
I already know.
I don't care about any of that. None of that matters. The gradient edge guard fix is by far the biggest improvement in the history of Gearbox. I mean, man, did it make me happy when I saw these things come out of the box. It was incredible. The joy that I felt.
This guy, he hates color in his life.
I'm a hater. It's okay. But these are just, I will say, all jokes aside, this is definitely Gearbox's best paddle, and I do like it quite a bit.
So here's the real question. Do you feel like you could go play a tournament with it? Obviously, you haven't had that much time. You haven't got to play doubles games, so that's like, that could change your opinion.
I can tell pretty quickly after playing just some drilling and hitting. After I hit, just go through the gauntlet of shots, I'd feel comfortable playing. I'd probably change some weighting setups stuff, but I could go to a tournament tomorrow and not have any complaints.
Okay. And I feel like that's pretty big because I don't think you've ever said that about a Gearbox paddle.
No. Yeah. This is about a Gearbox specifically. That's never happened.
Yeah.
So this is a big jump for Gearbox for me personally. Yeah, I like it quite a bit. It's moved up pretty high in my ranking of top paddles, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we'll keep hitting it. Obviously, we're very early into this. A month from now, maybe we find out like there's a big break-in and there's a problem there. I really hope not. Because here's one of the things that I think could be potentially one of the biggest selling points to this over a Pro 4. Like I think they're in a similar tier of competitiveness, both power, sweet spot, whatever. You might have a difference in how you want the paddle to feel, or maybe you feel like one's a little poppier in a certain shot, and that might make you lean one way. But the biggest thing that Gearbox potentially has is the durability. Mm-hmm. We've talked a little bit about how some of the Pro 4s are starting to core crush. If Gearbox can nail the durability on this, that would be gigantic.
Gives it a pretty big leg up on Yola.
Yeah. So I'm loving the paddle so far. I hope it continues to remain stable and be good, but I know this is like really high praise, but it feels worth it. You know?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Gearbox's reputation of durability and just overall performance is good, but it's just it's that thing you said. It's always that one side effect, that one drawback that holds it back from being great. And now this paddle doesn't have that one thing.
Yeah.
And I think it is up there with probably I'd say top 5 power paddle for me.
Yeah. So I think right now what I'm kind of thinking about, and we'll see as we use them more what I start leaning towards, but I think the GX2 hybrid and the Honolulu NF are kind of the toss up for my main right now. So we'll see. I think what's going to happen is it's probably going to come down to which one I think I can control better on the soft game. I think that's what's going to make the difference of what I end up sticking with.
Okay.
But that's where I'm leaning right now.
All right.
Anyways, that's our overview of those paddles. And now you've made it to the kitchen, and I'm going to tell you guys some really small tournament stories. This is probably going to be quick. And then I also want to talk about an interesting way to drill and some funny stories about posting this on the internet. So when I went to Texas, Ryan DeWidgeon, GM for the Ranchers, he showed me this cool way to train at their facility. He just had this backboard I could hit against. It wasn't a Dink Master, but basically he was like, look, let me show you this thing. He's like, you're going to think it's cool. And he rolls this thing out. I was like, this is going to be stupid. I was like, I feel like I get pitched stuff all the time. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be good. It's kind of how I felt going into this. And then he started showing me, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. I started doing it
instantly.
Immediately
I'm telling
sold.
you guys, I was sitting on the side just watching this whole thing unfold. And this man, like, I could see just like lean back in his chair, eyes rolled back. Okay, whatever. Just lost interest. And then immediately when he saw it and then got out there, his eyes lit up.
Yeah, I feel like I hit like 200 backhand rolls.
Yeah, dude, you were out there. It couldn't get you off the court.
Yeah. So basically, just imagine I'm going to use a Dink Master because everyone knows what that is or is generally familiar with it. It's just a backboard. You can, tilt it up or down to change the way the ball comes off.
Kind of designed for doing hands and just like dinking and stuff.
So I've never loved the concept of these things. It's not that I don't think they're valuable, but I always when people dink against a wall, I think getting any type of rep is probably useful in some regard, but my complaint was always, okay, cool. I've got a line on that board that tells me, hey, don't hit below this because you would have hit the net, and don't hit too high because you would have popped it up. But my problem is what you don't get from that is the depth. So it's like, okay, cool. I might have hit that like a tiny bit high, but still below the high line, but my depth may have put it right into a spot where they just counter it and hit me in the chest. Mm-hmm. And same thing with hands. I think it's good for working on reflexes and probably understanding how the ball is going to come back at you. But I was still just like, this feels like it has limited value in what I can train.
I think hitting against a wall or any wall-like product is better for doing just hands than actual dinking practice. Because, well, exactly that. You don't get the depth. And then to hit a shot, dinks are so slow against a wall that would get the correct depth. It's not going to bounce far enough back where then you have to move forward, would be into the kitchen and then hit a shot. It's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And so for me, any wall drills have only ever been hands.
Yep. Agreed. And so basically what you can do is you kind of have to have, again, you have to have like a private court. And honestly, I think if a facility is listening to this, you should try and get people sold on this. You guys should like buy one of these and just keep it at your facility.
So have like your pros like trained on how to do this and show people.
Yeah. Show people, let them rent it, or even let people use it for free if they want to come and drill. So basically, you roll it on the court, and you can set it up to do a lot of different things. So the other day, the way I had it set up is I was on the left side of the court. I put the backboard on the other side of the net, like right against the net pretty much, and I tilted it slightly up. I would hit one dink at it, and so that the dink would come to my backhand, and then I would hit a backhand roll either through the middle or cross court. And I worked on a lot of different ways I could hit this, either sharp angle that rolls it off the court, or something harder through the middle like you're trying to speed it up. And
either he gave me a free ATP or a counter to his chest. That's all I'm hearing.
Okay, that was pretty good. So, but you can do that. And then another way that I was using it was I put it in the middle of the court. Not quite middle. I put it in the kitchen on my side of the court. And from the baseline, I would like serve the ball at it. And then the next ball, I could hit a third shot drive, or I could drive the ball at the board again. The ball pops up, and then I could act like it was a shake and bake, and I could put the ball away. So what I really love about this is there's so many unique ways that I think you can use a board on a court for yourself And the biggest thing that I think it's beneficial for is I think there are certain shots people want to get better at, but if you're going to work with someone on it, it's very selfish or drilling one way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the backhand rolls I was just describing where I wanted to hit them like sharp cross court or maybe go through the middle, if I'm drilling that with you and you're straight ahead of me, the second ball I hit or the backhand roll I hit is not to you. So you're basically feeding me a ball so I can hit a backhand roll. You don't get much out of it.
Exactly.
Are there ways you could maybe make it work? Yeah, probably. But if I'm just want to work on my technique, I don't want to waste my partner's time when I could do it myself.
Unless you got somebody like Kwong's dad, Duke, out here just feeding you balls, no partner wants to do that and just sit there for an hour just feeding you a ball.
And same thing, if I want to work on drives, third shot drives or like dipping drives, amazing with this board. I could hit 500 balls and not feel like I'm wasting someone's time.
Yeah.
And
so overall,
yeah,
great thing to practice. Great tool for drilling, all these things. But
hang on, before you do, I just want to say one other thing that I think, or two other things people can use it, just to give some more examples.
Okay.
You could also do like dink and speed up. So like if you had the board in front of you, you can dink it, go to your backhand, speed it up the line, work on hitting your speed ups. Or one that I am going to do eventually is setups for a lob. So like hit a harder ball into it, tilt the board back so it pops up, and then you could practice hitting overheads.
You definitely need that one.
I definitely need that one. And again, that's not, if you're going to try and drill overheads, it's usually not that helpful for your partner, especially if you're trying to angle it off the court.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Now, this is so funny. The stories they have of this is so funny. So
especially because you didn't even hear my side of it.
Exactly. That makes it so much better. So like we just said, there's all these amazing benefits to using it. It's a great tool. After Ryan showed us, I was like, because I saw Ryan, it's essentially just a wood plank is what he had there. And I had seen it in some of their videos and I was like, what is that thing? He showed it to us. I was like, wow, this is a great tool. It's amazing for practicing. You posted some videos on your Instagram story of you doing this. And one of our close friends here, we were just chatting about it. He goes, Isaac, I saw Chris in his backyard using his court. And he was just hidden by himself. He goes, dude, what was he doing? It looked so sad. He was by himself. He had nobody. It's just like so depressing. And I was like, yeah, but it's a great tool. He goes, yeah, but it just looks really, really sad. And then you had another one.
Yeah. As soon as I put this up, the amount of DMs I got, they were like, bro, do you need a friend? They're like, do you have any friends? They were like, why are you hitting on your, they were like, this is just the same thing. They were like, this looks sad. And I was like, yes, would I rather hit with someone? Yes. But do I want to waste their time for me to get benefit and them not? I was like, no.
Also, not, even though like we're brothers, I live 2 minutes away. I'm not always available to just hit. So like, if you have nobody to hit with, this is better than doing nothing. Like this is something I would like genuinely tell people to do because you will genuinely get better.
And I'm not going to lie. I think at the moment, I think a ball machine still has a lot of utility and things that it would do better than the wall. But if I had to pick between doing the drills I just talked about and a ball machine, I would take this over the ball machine for sure.
I think I'd agree.
Quicker to set up. You don't have to be like, how do I have to position this and tilt the knob? And is it then I feed 5 balls and that wasn't the right spot and then I fix it again and I waste another 5 balls.
Finicky.
It's just kind of annoying. Now, I know there are better ones out there. I know the Titan has like spots and it can be a little bit more precise, but still, I personally found for shot repetition, I think this would be a lot more useful. The only problem is, again, unless your facility offers it or you have your own home private court, you're not wheeling a Dink Master to your public court to do this.
Yeah, right.
That's the problem with it, and where a ball machine might be better. But if all you facilities listening out there, buy one and offer it, won't have this problem.
Cheaper than a ball machine, though.
Yeah, cheaper than, considered a lot cheaper.
Significantly.
Even at $300-$400, however much the Dink Master is, I mean, a Titan's like $2,000, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's a lot of value in it, even if you look lonely out there.
Yep.
Still think it's great.
I agree. As sad and depressing as it looks, it's a great tool.
Yes. Okay. Now, just a couple quick stories I want to tell about tournament this weekend. So I got asked to play with a guy that I played my last tournament with. That was the only other tournament we played. And then mixed, played with someone I'd never played with before. So men's was first. Pool play, we were 3-2, I think. So pool play went fine. And then when we got to the bracket, faced this guy, okay? Jake Benedictson. He's from Minnesota. Known him for a long time. This guy has never beaten me in a tournament. Every single time I play him in a tournament, he gets beat. It is like his curse in life that he has never been able to beat me. Well, he finally got me.
Dang.
He finally got me in a tournament, or probably more specifically what I should say is his partner, Brian Anderson, carried him to a win against me. Jake didn't do that much. Brian was all over the court. I'm just kidding, Jake. I know Jake is probably going to listen to this. Jake, you played great.
What's funny, though, I'm going to cut in real quick. I was with another one of our friends, David.
Yeah.
I was with him, and we were talking about the tournament. I was like, oh, he's playing right now. And we were just looking at the standings, and they're like, oh, he lost to Jake. And I was like, what? And then I was like, who's his partner? And they said Brian. I was like, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, but Brian did get double gold this weekend. But
Brian's been on fire lately.
yeah, Brian's killing it. But
Jake,
seriously, to
all
Jake's
jokes
credit,
aside.
he has gotten a lot better. Jake played awesome. He was just as much a part of winning that match as Brian was. But it was a good match. Obviously, would have liked to go further. I think that was either the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. I can't remember. So went out in the tournament somewhere around there. Congrats to them. And then I guess this weekend was just people had grudge matches with me.
Beating you down.
So mixed doubles, pool play, we go 2-2. We make it through to the bracket. And then our first bracket match we play, we just obliterate this team. I feel like I've never played better. In fact, someone watching was like, dude, I don't think I've ever seen you play that good. We beat them 15-2 in like 7 minutes. Super fast game. My drives are on fire. Crashes are on fire. I just felt great. My partner also played awesome. Not saying she didn't. She obviously helped. It was not just me out there on the court. But as far as my personal level of pickleball, I was like, I am playing awesome. So next match, I'm like, I am feeling hot. And the guy we were playing, Juan, me and Bobby played him in another team tournament, and we beat them and felt great about it. He comes into this match. What I did to the team before, that's what happened to me. We got ran over. I felt like not only did I get tied to a train track, ran over, burned my ashes, dropped me off a building, it sunk my ashes in a lake. That's what this felt like. I lost 115 in probably 5 minutes.
Your confidence was too high. It was too high.
Dude, he clearly was out for some revenge because him and his partner played great. I had nenever played his partner before, but very big serve, very big drive. I was like, okay, we're not going to let her hit the thirds anymore because she's killing us. It's like, we'll give the thirds to Juan. Didn't matter. Juan drive the ball, I'd pop it up, he'd come and crash, and I was like, okay, well, that doesn't work. We had no answer. All our returns were going out. They just played way better. But I was like, man, what a disparity in level. I went from feeling like a 5-0 to feeling like I was a 3-5 in about 10 minutes.
Dang, that's rough.
It was pretty crazy.
That's rough.
But it was a fun tournament. My partner Kelsey, she played great. Partner for men's, Sergey, he also played great. Really enjoyed playing with both of them. It was a lot of fun. I will be drilling my fourths now. I've known this about myself, but this summer I am fixing it. I am sick and tired.
We got to stop your little like turn to the side, cover the booty block.
You know what's funny about that though? Someone had a core crush paddle. They're running mid-court. They just blast a ball at me. I did that stupid little thing where I kind of jump and turn. Boom, hit a winner.
Yeah, but think about how much better it'd be if you just stand your ground and not turn to the side.
That would be better, for sure. But yeah, both the reasons one of my pool play matches in men's we lost because I couldn't handle pace. For my fourth shot specifically. I'm not even talking about counters anymore. My counters could still be better, but I feel in a place with those where I feel okay and comfortable. But specifically when people have heavy third shot drives, my fourths, my ability to get them down and hard or even just down at all is not very good.
Sure.
So that's going to be next on my list of drills. So if in the comments you guys have drills you like to do for fourths, hit me up because I'm going to use them.
Nice.
But yeah, other than that, that's about all I got.
Before we sign off,
okay,
I have just one thing I want to bring up to our audience. Okay. This is something that we have a bit of an inside bet and challenge with our friend group that needs to be brought up. So we went on a vacation the beginning of this year with a friend group of ours to Hawaii on January. And middle of the trip, somewhere in the trip, this got brought up with this guy. This guy goes, you know what, guys? I'm done with you guys ragging on me and trashing on me about my duper. He's like, I'm going to have the highest duper in the whole friend group by the end of the year. And keep in mind, one of our friends is like I think it's dropped down. I think the highest in the group is 5'4" right now. This man's a 4'5" at the moment. This man thinks
I can't jump a full duper point in 6 months?
This guy thinks in 6 months he's going to get but
5 months, actually.
Not in 5 months. He thinks he's going to go a full duper point up. So I just wanted to bring that up to the public. But also, not only that, me and another friend who was on that trip, we decided, we were like, you know what? Can he even hit 5.0 before 30?
Before 30?
Dude just turned 29.
Brother.
Can he hit 5.0 before 30? He's got another year.
Bro, if I can't, I think we're gonna mark this on the pod right here. I might regret this. I will, hang on. We're even gonna do my little Siri thing. Remind me on June 9th next year to ask myself if I'm a 5.0 and reference episode 133 of the podcast. All right, reminder set.
5.0 duper.
If
not just am I a 5.0.
Okay.
It's got to be rated duper.
Here's the question though. Let's say I got my duper to 5.2 in April. And then let's say I played like 3 tournaments in a month and I dropped to a 4.9. Let's say I was 5.0 for 5 months, and then in June I dropped to 4.9.
No, that's fine. You just have to get an official rating of 5.0
at any point in time.
At any point, it just needs to touch it before you hit 30 years old.
All right.
Because once you hit 30, man, you're over the hill. You're gone. Career's over.
I wanted to say something crazy, like I'll quit pickleball if that doesn't happen, but that feels too extreme. And then I also wanted to say I'd shave my head, but now I'm like second guessing myself.
Oh, see, he has no confidence. He doesn't think he can do it.
This is the problem. No, I feel like I can do it, but I feel like it would be just my luck that something comes up, like I break my leg for 5 months.
Okay. We don't need to shave your head. You don't need to quit. Here's the bet. You either hit 5.0 before 30 or wax your legs.
Heck no. How about we do this? How about we do something that instead of giving me pain, we benefit the audience? I'll do this. I will give away 5 pickleball paddles, 5 paddles to the audience if I am not 5.0 by my birthday at 30.
All right. I like this. I like this. Look, I'm just trying to motivate you. We want you to get there. But first of all, you just went too high with your first one. Bro, let's be realistic here. Highest duper in the group by the end of the year?
You never know.
I would be so impressed if you do that. I'll shave my head bald for a year straight if you hit the highest group in the duper by the end of the year.
So guys, I'm sorry to say, but Pickleball Studio will no longer be doing reviews for the rest of 2025. We are officially going to become a training channel for tutorials of pickleball. You will see no reviews because I would love to see my brother bald for a year.
I mean, I wear melons all the time anyways, so it doesn't really matter, but I will continuously shave my head. I will polish my head. I will look like Ryan DeWidgeon out here for a year straight if you get your duper to the highest in the group. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think you're going to get yours above mine. The last time your duper was above mine was like, what, eternity ago?
Probably like 2 years ago. It was probably actually like 2 years.
I think so. So
there's also no more podcasts for the rest of the year, guys. Sorry, this is Isaac's fault.
I've laid out the ground rules. This is the public knows now, and now it's real.
All right, here we go.
Well, with that, I think that's all we got.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you later.
Peace.